This is an Ask Me Anything. Any questions you have regarding survival, self-reliance, equipment, any of our classes. We are still having our classes in May. They're to the end of May and June, July. I'm considering that our classes are essential since they are relating to survival in this crazy time that we're going through. I see Eric's just signed on. Hi, Eric. So I thought we could. This could be the first of several things. We do have on our website a blog page. We have Ask the Survival Guys. So if you have a general question that you think other people might like, if you send us that question either through the email tom@survivalschool, I can answer it, put it up on a post, and then everybody can get the answer. We get if chances are, if you have the question, probably other people have the same question. So, other than that, have a lot of time now home to catch up. I'm sure a lot of you have bug out bags. This would be a good time to go through your bug out bag and make sure that everything in there is working. None of the bags are torn. Even make sure that you know how to use everything in there. Nancy, thank you for joining us. You're close by in Garfield Heights, so glad to see that you joined us. We are going to be having our edible medicinal plant classes in May. Like I said, we're still going to hold the plant classes. We're going to probably still try to keep the 6-foot distance. But the spring plant classes are a good time if you're even if you're not close to Cleveland here. To start taking a plant class, or even if there's none in your area, to start plants with a book, because you're going to find the plants when they're young, just emerging, and then you can follow them throughout the season. So that's a good time to start the plants so you can see them emerging. I know here in Cleveland we're seeing the coltsfoot pop their head out of the ground. Dan, thanks for popping in. I haven't seen Dan Kotkin for a while. My knife maker. So anyways, going back to coltsfoot, they call that son before father, because the flower, the yellow flower, looks very similar to a dandelion, pops out of the ground first, then that flower turns into the seeds, which looks very similar to a dandelion head with the white little floaties, but they're much more dense. Then when they go away, the leaves come out. So that's a little different than most plants. Most plants have the leaves come out, then the flower, and then the seeds. So the coltsfoot's a little different. From that you can make cough drops, one of the oldest. I see Adam just popped on. Nice to see you, Adam. Adam's an old friend of mine, only he's not that old. He's got several CDs out on flute playing, so we're going to have to put some of those on our website. So, Adam, we need to talk to get some of your CDs on the website so people can enjoy some of your flute playing. So, if you have any questions, Wendy Wareham is moderating, and she's the one that helped me get all this started and going. So, I believe there's a way you can type in some questions. Pardon?
What goes in a bug out bag?
What goes in a bug out bag? That's a good question. Let's talk bug out bags real quick. A lot of people say they want a 72-hour bag and then a long-term bag. That's not the philosophy I typically like to follow. I feel you don't really need anything for a 72-hour bag. You can just kind of sit by a tree or get by with 72 hours. So my bug out bags would be longer term than that. So what you're going to need in your bug out bag is the basics. You need shelter, fire, water, and food. And by food, I don't mean, you can have some energy bars to carry food. You're not going to be carrying any amount of food, but you are going to carry ways that you can procure food. So you might want to take some snare wire if you're going to be staying in a location and you're going to want to set some snare traps. You might want to take some kind of weapon if you're going to, again, want to get some food. There's one thing that people always say, well, in my bug out bag, I want to take a Peterson's Edible Medicinal Plant Guide. I'd recommend against that. If you're ever going to be relying on your bug out bag, that's not the time to be learning plants. It's just not. You're going to be relying on the plants that you've learned in the past. So that's also a trick question I have in my classes. What's the one thing that should never be in a bug out bag? And after I let people think a while, the answer is instructions. There should not be instructions in your bug out bag, which the point I'm trying to make is whatever you have in your bug out bag, you should be using constantly, once in a while. You should know how to use it. You should be familiar with it. It should not be in its original cellophane wrapper that you bought it in. The only exceptions would be maybe things in your medical kit, and you should be looking at that to make sure they're not too far past their expiration date, and you're recycling those. So does anybody have any questions? I can tell you what's on my mind and what I think you want to know, but I'd much rather answer any questions you have, especially about water purification. I'm getting a lot of questions. I know people have been calling me. We're all staying home now, and people have been asking me, well, what food should I put up? Questions like that. And the easy answer is that you're going to want to, and you should have this stored already, but since we can't still get to the grocery stores, you should be putting up food that you like. I mean, if you don't like beans, there's no sense in buying 30 cans of beans to have in your pantry for eating beans. Also, this is no time to be on a diet, so don't look for any low-calorie things. You want things that have high-calorie, things that you like to eat. And, hey, Mike, thank you. Thanks for coming on. Mr. Olds. I haven't talked to him in a while. Things that you like in your pantry, staples, tuna fish, rice, cans of chicken, mac and cheese. Everybody likes mac and cheese. And what's nice is actually storing food can save you money, because you're going to be always rotating your stock. So say we go out and we buy 20 cans of canned tuna fish. You have it in your pantry, and you're going to be using it next time you make tuna casserole, tuna sandwiches, whatever. You're going to take a couple cans. And then when you go to the grocery store again, the next time you see it on sale, you're going to buy maybe 6, 7, 10 cans to replace what you used. So you're buying it on sale. You're rotating your stock. In essence, you're saving money. So you always have that in your pantry there. People say, how long should I put food away for? What should be the, should I put a month's worth, 2 months? I say if you're looking at how long, 2 weeks, not enough. A year's worth of food, probably that's a little excessive. So somewhere between 2 weeks and a year. So figure out how long do you want to be independent? How long do you want to not rely on somebody? So do you want to, if something really bad happens, even worse than what we're going through now, do you want to be totally independent from any outside source for a month? I'd say that's on the shy side. Even 2 months is a little on the shy side. So if my recommendations, 2-3 months, I think you're pretty safe. If you want to be really safe and secure, you could put as much as 6 months of food storage away. Nothing wrong with even longer than that, but when you start going out to a year, that's quite a bit. But like I said, how long do you want to be totally independent for?
Nancy's a fan of Spam.
Nancy's you know what, Spam? We all, always get a grin when you say, hey, we're going to have Spam. And most people have never tasted Spam. So about a year and a half ago, I bought some Spam. And I read a couple things on how to fix it. And I fried it up. Spam is actually good. But we all laugh about it because the jokes are made of it. But very few of us have ever tried it. Spam lasts a long time. It's made of, I believe, I looked it up, pork, ham, and something else. But Spam, fantastic. Got quite a bit of fat in it, and yeah, it has sodium in it. But Spam would not be a bad thing to put in your pantry, and if you're even throw a couple cans in your car. Slice it. Yep. Fry it. Yep. Slice it and fry it. Eric, glad to see you joined us. Eric, he's one of our instructors, so I'm sure Eric doesn't have too many survival questions, but if I get stumped, Eric, stay on the line. You can maybe help me out here if we get some crazy. He's I know in the Guard, and he's been keeping me in the loop here with all the latest when things are going around. Spam is salty as hell. That's Eric's. Yes, it is. When things are salty, you can also, before you fry them up, you can soak them in water. That'll get a portion of the salt out. I know one of our classes we had some salt pork and some salted meat, so that's what we did to eat it. So, any more?
Jess is on the line.
Jess, glad you joined us. And of course, Doug Meyer. Doug's doing quite a bit. He's just coming out with a blowgun book. It's down in the Carolinas, and I believe it's going to be the only blowgun book out there, and it's going to be not only the only, but one of the best. And he's the man if you ever are interested in blowguns or wanted to purchase a blowgun. In fact, he's so good that the natives, I know some of the Cherokee actually purchased their blowguns from Doug. So he's just awesome with his flint napping and all. So, John, the rationale is a month's just not enough food. If something really bad happens and you need to hunker down, you just want to be on your own, that's not enough food for you and your family. If you have a place to keep a year's worth, that's great. By having a year's worth of food, you have a lot of money tied up, and remember, you have to rotate your stock. So if you have a place to put it, nothing wrong with a year's worth of food. But rotating it is a problem, because whenever you go to the grocery store, you're going to put the new stuff right at the front, and when you go to use it, you have a tendency just to grab what's at the front. Well, that's the new stuff. You really have to reach all the way in the back and take that stuff. So ideally, if you had a room, you would build a wall in the center and have some slanted shelves. So when you would buy new things, you'd put them on this side, have them slide down, and when you use it, go to the other side and use it. Remember, you should also have a menu plan. So you know, okay, so you're not having all tuna casserole and you say, gee, we have nothing to go with this. So you have to have your main meals. You should have some desserts in there. Have some pudding. Have some canned fruit. Remember, part of this, and I know people are getting out now and they're taking walks, but if you limited to stay in your home, you're going to go stir crazy. So you need to keep your morale up. So having some chocolate pudding, some things like that, it's the little things that are going to keep you happy. So like I said, how long do you want to be self-sufficient? Water's another thing. You need a gallon of water per person to survive in your house. You figure 2 gallons if you want to do things like flush toilets, do dishes, wash up, wash your face, and things like that. So I figure 2 gallons per person per day for normal living. Now, you don't have to have that for an entire year, because you do have ways to replenish your water. All of us live in a house. All of us have gutters. So as long as you have a way to get the water from your gutters into a container and then back in your house. I know here in Cleveland we have a couple 55-gallon rain barrels that are under our gutters. Well, it takes 1 Cleveland rain just to catch 55 gallons of water. Now, rainwater is perfectly safe to drink. It's pure. But if it's coming off your roof, there's birds up there, and birds do what birds do. So whenever you're going to take that water from out of your gutters, if you're going to use it for drinking purposes, cooking purposes, you do want to purify it, either with a water purifier or just simply boiling it. If you do have bleach, and having a gallon or 2 of bleach around, just a plain non-scented bleach, that's a way to purify water, and it takes 8 drops of bleach per gallon to purify that water. It's going to have a little bit of a bleach smell to it. That's not going to hurt you because you're drinking chlorinated water now. But again, if you drank that much chlorine for 10 or 20 years, you might have an issue, but for 6 months, a year, you'd be fine. You want to get your son back in. He's only 3. Three's a little, well, to take, John Olds asked, he wants to get his son started into the woods. Any suggestions? Yes, you can talk to kids, you can tell them what to do, but they're watching you all the time, John. So take them out camping, and I know you're real good with a bow drill, and you're phenomenal with a flint and steel. So when take your son camping, when it's time to make a fire, do it with a bow drill. He's going to watch you at 3, and he's going to have that in his mind. And then maybe when he's 5, you can give you a hand in keeping that bow moving. And then by the time he's 7 or 8, he's going to ask you, "Hey, Dad, can I try that?" And he's going to just ingrain that that's the way you do things. Of course, if you're at home, you could use a match, and but maybe make a teepee fire. So he's going to see you doing that. Best way to do it. Eric had a great suggestion. When you're in the woods, pointing out tracks. You see a deer track, well, point out which way the deer went and how did you know that? Show him that you can see the track better if you put the track between you and the sunlight, and get him down there. Take his fingers, put it inside the track, let him feel it, the tactile senses. And when you're going and you see some Coltsfoot, I believe you're down in Texas, you got some plants down there. Start showing him plants. Just little things in nature. He'll remember them. And when he's about 8, I think he might be ready to take a survival class, and I have a couple spots that have your name and your son's name on it, so keep that in mind.
Old Nichols wanted no plants.
Rattlesnakes. I get a question on that. I was doing a survival class out west, and we were going, and funny, we were walking, and I heard the sound, and it sounded like we have katydids up here in Ohio, and it was like, what in the heck are katydids doing here in the desert? Kept getting louder, and I couldn't figure out why they had katydids. Then it dawned on me, it wasn't a katydid, it was a rattlesnake. So anyways, we dispatched the rattlesnake with a 45, and everybody wanted to taste it. And everybody learned pretty quick that, well, think about what you see when you go to a natural history museum and you see a snake behind the glass. What does that look like? You're right. It's all bones. A long thing of all bones. So when you're eating a rattlesnake, it's 90% bones and very little meat. So it's hard to tell what a rattlesnake really tastes like because it's all bones.
Talking about caching, hiding food.
Caching food. You can do that in today's day and age. The natives did that. They had caches of food, especially in the summertime. If they knew they were going to go from point A to point B along the same route, they would have food caches along the way, and they would build shelters along the way. So if they knew they were going to make a 200-mile trek in January, they knew they could make maybe 15 miles a day, 20 on a good day. So they would go from shelter to shelter that they built in July and August, and they would have food caches, and they would carry some food with them, but if they needed it, they would do that. Today's day and age, where are you going in an emergency? Why would you have food caches? If you did, my suggestion would to be putting them in a scout pit. And for those that have taken our escape and evasion class, a scout pit is you know what I'm talking about, but a scout pit basically is a grave underground that you would use, or the Apache used as hiding places. And in that scout pit, you could have things such as a weapon, some food, different things like that. You can have caches. I'm thinking if I would ever have to leave my house, I would want to be on the move. So I'm going to carry everything with me, and you have to be able to change your plans quickly. And if I knew I had to be at a certain place because my cash was there, I'm really limiting myself and limiting my plans. And if I couldn't get there and I was trying to force myself there, I might compromise myself in trying to get to a certain location, and I don't want to be that bound to it. Oh God, a grave underground. Scout pits are horrible enough without the description. Honestly, John, the scout pit. Okay, what a scout pit is? Picture this: it's a grave. Only there's a ledge around the top that you put logs across, and then you put dirt on top of there, and there's a entrance that you go into, and then you landscape the top. So, okay, say you're after me, I might have a 100-foot head start on you, or 200-foot head start, but you're right after me. So I go make a corner. I know where that scout pit is. I make that corner out of your sight. I lift up that plug, go down in my scout pit, pull the plug up over me, and you come around the corner, and Tom has disappeared. Now, where are you going to start looking? Naturally, you're going to look left, right. Where did he go? Up in a tree? Where is he? Chances are you're not going to be looking down at the ground. So I'm under the ground. When we make them, you're going to find out two things. One, the ground's usually around 55 degrees. So in the summertime, it's like having an air-conditioned apartment underground. And in the wintertime, the ground's going to keep you warm. So it's kind of a climate-controlled environment. And as long as you're not too claustrophobic, you get used to it. It's kind of cool. Adam says scout pits are awesome. Yes, they are. Except digging them. Like I said, it's a grave. So you're going to dig a hole that's about 4 foot wide. For me, it's 6.5 foot long, and about 4 foot deep. Now that's an awful lot of digging, especially when you're going to be hitting rocks and clay and things. These days, if you had to dig a hole like that in your yard, you'd rent a backhoe. In our class, though, we give you a shovel. So the escape evasion class is a lot of fun, but the first day is tough. Heath, I use a 6-foot pipe, seal cap ends, waterproof. Oh, for the cachet, excellent idea. Dave, Heath gave a great idea for your cache. PVC pipe, screw ends. You can put things in there for storage. Waterproof, fantastic idea. You're going to have to know where you're putting these. So again, people always say, "Oh, I've got GPS." Great for having fun, double checking yourselves on maps. But again, if anything bad ever does happen, the first thing the government's going to do is they're going to flip a switch, and all civilian GPS is going to go offline. So, if you're putting these, you're going to have to make pretty sure that you're going to know where your caches are by means other than GPS. So, I think it was 7 feet deep, 12 feet, 10 feet long. It was crazy. Okay, John. Yeah, one thing you have to be concerned about, and I know this by experience, you have to kind of be cognizant of where your water table is. I've done 1 or 2 scout pits, and I did hit water, which is good if you want to hit water, but not if you want to use a scout pit to sleep in at night. So you have to kind of be aware of that. By the way, if you ever are building a scout pit, you should build one, and you should build it on your own, and only you know where that is, because you never know when you're going to need it. So probably shut off the internet also. So use a pen and paper, definitely. The things we rely on, like I said, I always say if something bad happens, you're going to be relying on much less than we have now. I mean, we have the internet now, hence we're doing this. Money, we're not going to have money when the ATMs are going to go down. We won't be able to go to the grocery store. And on top of that, We probably won't be able to leave our house if things got really bad, because there'd be curfews out and things like that. So things would be a lot different. So you're going to have to rely on your survival skills. And I might change the way I'm saying survival. I think when we talk survival, people would assume, oh, I'm never going to get lost in the jungle. Why do I need survival skills? Well, it's really self-reliance skills. So being lost in the woods or being at home, it's self-reliance, relying on yourself. And when you do learn these skills, you have a different mindset. And that's what's going to keep you alive. It's not necessarily knowing how to do a bow drill or knowing how to make a figure 4 trap. It's looking at a situation, not having what you need, and being able to figure it out. Having that confidence of just knowing. So, learn how to drain water from a... Oh, Nancy, I can't tell you how many people, when this situation we're in now first happened, I mentioned have water, and I asked them, well, you are aware you have water at home in your hot water tank, and people forgot about that. Well, all of you know you have probably 40 gallons or more in your hot water tank at home. If the water was ever contaminated in the city where you live in, what you have to do, you have to isolate your house from any contamination coming in, because all it takes is one person to flush a toilet, and if there's water contaminated in your city, and that contaminated water get into that water tank, your whole water tank's contaminated. So when you hear or suspect that in the near future that water in your city might be contaminated, the first person home, so everyone in your house needs to know how to do this, needs to shut off your incoming water to your house. That'll isolate your house. Once they do that, and make sure that valve is free to open and shut. So maybe once, twice a year, open it and shut it, just to make sure that you can easily close off the water. If you have a friend that's a plumber, rather than a screw valve, they have, I believe they call it a boiler valve. It's just a lever valve that on and off. It's a lot easier than the type that screw, a lot more reliable. It's a ball valve, lever. Next time you have a plumber over, the valve is inexpensive, won't cost you much to put those in instead of the screw valve. Secondly, how to get the water out of your tank. When you buy a water tank, at the bottom of it, there's a drain. It looks like a mini faucet. Nowadays, they're plastic. And usually, the idea of that drain, you're supposed to drain about a gallon of water out of your hot water tank once a year. It gets any sediment out of there, and it actually extend the life of your hot water tank if you do that, to get the sediment out. Most people don't do that, but when you put in a new hot water tank, just unscrew that plastic little faucet, because it's junk. Go to the hardware store and get a new outdoor faucet, which is metal. Screw it in there and use the metal one. It's a lot more durable, a lot easier, and then you can use that to drain water out of your hot water tank. So you have 40 gallons right there. So most people don't know that. You can also take water from your bowl. I'm talking the tank in the top. That's perfectly safe to drink.
What do you think the best idea for alternative power?
Alternative power. Okay. When we talk alternative power in our classes, first thing I tell people, make sure you don't trade one dependency for another. I know a lot of people say, well, I want to put an emergency generator in. Okay. Yeah, that's good, but you are trading for dependency on gasoline now. What I personally do, we do have an emergency generator, but I don't have one for my whole house. I have a 2,000 watt, 2 kW, small generator, and the reason I have a small one is because it's very portable. It weighs 47 pounds. I can easily carry it. My wife can easily carry it. The smaller one just is very easy on gasoline. If I got a 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 watt one will use a lot more gasoline. And what am I going to be really using to keep my house going? All I want is to keep the refrigerator, the freezer going, and maybe one or two lights. And with the LED lights, it's really not an issue. So I'm looking at my freezer and refrigerator. And that 2,000 watt will do it fine. Now, that said, alternative power. With rechargeable batteries these days, that's what I use. They have solar. Getting some of these solar panels now that will recharge batteries. You're going to want they'll fold out. Make sure that you get at least a solar panel that's 27 or 30 watts. Watts is the amount of power that they're going to put out. You can get some nice small compact ones, and they're lightweight. They'll advertise the heck out of them. But if they're advertised at 5 watts or 6 watts, they will recharge batteries. It'll take you 3 or 4 days to do it. If you get something that's and it's 27 or 30 watts, they'll recharge a set of AA batteries or AAA batteries in just a few hours. Now, one place you might want to go to get rechargeable batteries that I go is called Thomas Distributing. They have all kind of batteries. I would recommend getting the low discharge rechargeable batteries, because a lot of rechargeables will lose power just sitting on the shelf. These low discharge will lose very little power if you don't use them for 3, 4, 5 months. If you want to store something that needs batteries, say in your bug out bag, you have a GPS in there, or you have a flashlight in there. Might be in there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I always use lithium batteries. They're called digital batteries, camera batteries. Eveready makes them in AA, AAA. They even have 9 volt. And they have the CR123. They're a little more expensive. The Eveready ones are in a silver. They have silver wrapping with blue lettering on them, but they're lithium. What I like about them, they have 9 times the power of the alkaline counterpart, and they have a 20-year shelf life. Meaning, if you put them in your flashlight, and that flashlight sits in your bug out bag for 20 years, and you pull that flashlight out, they're going to work. So that's what I like for something that's going to be sitting on the shelves. So for power, that's my thing. I would have a small generator, gasoline. And I like gasoline because rather than propane or natural gas, just because we have gasoline in our cars. My Suburban has a 36-gallon tank. That's 36 gallons of fuel I have right there.
Frank wants to know about a propane generator.
Propane generator, Frank? Okay, I kind of covered that. If you have propane, if you have natural gas, then you can convert it over. You can do it. What's going to be easier for you to get in an emergency situation? I mean, you're not going to be able to go and get propane tanks filled. You're not going to be able to have it delivered. You could probably barter with your neighbor. You got, a case of toilet paper for 5 gallons of gas. So, not sure what your situation is. That's why I'm going to go with gasoline. One other thing, if you do have a generator, whether it be propane, once you start it, you're going to have to either make sure you drain the gasoline out of that carburetor, or else it's not going to start when you need it, or at least once a month, start it up, make sure it runs. Do not leave gasoline in any small engine. I'm sure I don't have to tell anybody out there that has these weed whackers or anything, or a chainsaw, that they leave gasoline in. With the alcohol and the crappy gas we're getting, gasoline goes bad in about 3 months now. If you can put that stable in that, which is supposed to extend the life, you'll get about 6 months out of it. So what I've been doing is, whenever I use my chainsaw, if I know I'm going to put it away for a couple months, I drain the gas out of it, run it till it stops, put put the choke on, keep trying to start it till it won't start. Try to make sure there's no gasoline in the carburetor, then I put it away. Do the same thing with that generator, because if you leave any gas in there and you need it, I'll guarantee it won't start. Eric's got some good advice. Eric, be sure to use your gear and train yourself with the gear so you can easily switch to alternative sources. Yes, 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 and do it under stress. That's why I think that's the one thing that people neglect. Not using their equipment, not using their emergency gear at home. We have a class coming up this year. It's going to be our bug out bag class. And there's no prerequisites. It's for somebody that never took our survival class or any survival class. But what we're going to do is we're going to have you bring your bug out bag and get there on a Thursday night. Have a little bit of a debrief. We'll cover some new things, maybe a little bit on movement and stealth and how to set up a camp or whatever. But you're going to be living out of your bug out bag for the weekend. And we do have some things planned. Nothing crazy. It's not going to be capture the flag. We're not going to be trying to, steal your gear and do anything crazy. There'll be no firearms at the class at all. But we are going to want you to test your own gear. We want you to test your own skills with your gear. You're going to be cooking your own meals on your own stove. And we want to see how, we want you to see how you do. We want to see if you find out maybe your stove doesn't work. It was, or you forgot this or forgot that. So this is you testing yourself. We're going to have our instructors there, and like I said, we do have things planned, and we are going to have some value added during the weekend, teaching-wise. But we're going to have that class coming up in August, so people can use their gear and use their bug-out bag. Because rhetorical question, you can't answer, but how many of you have your bug-out bag packed, it's sitting in a corner, and it's pristine, not dirty, never used? Okay, don't have to answer. Okay. Food gardens a bit. Yes. Do you still have that one up about food gardens, Cheryl?
No, I don't.
Brent.
But
Where's the class going to be held? Brent, the class is going to be held in southern Ohio, around Caldwell, Ohio. I have some land down there, about 40 acres. Yeah, that class is going to be good. Okay, food garden. Cheryl, she's my gardener. We have a 20 by 20 garden, which is good for supplementing. What I say about food gardens, they take up a lot of space. If I mean corn, you get 4 or 5 ears of corn, really hard on the soil. If you're growing wheat, it takes up a lot of space. One other downside of gardening is it's a target. If, again, something bad happens and you have a garden there, it's just advertising, I've got food. And if the guy 5 doors down, his family is starving, nice guy, if his family's starving, he's going to ask you for food. And if you say no, you could have a situation where he's going to come and try to take a little extra for his starving kids. Can't blame the guy. So it's a target. Also, gardens usually produce their food only in one set time. Now you can get early crops of peas, and then but most people, your tomatoes are always the end of August, and everybody knows when you have tomatoes, you can't give them away because everybody has tomatoes. So rather than focusing on a garden, and I think you should have a garden. It's fun, and it's we have our garden, and to supplement. You should learn wild, edible, medicinal plants. Those, and they're mostly weeds, they have as much, if not more, nutritional value than what you're going to be growing in your garden. And they grow from April to November. And they grow everywhere. And no pun intended, they grow like weeds. If you want to know nutritional value, the FDA has a website. Just put in FDA nutritional value. The nutritional value. And I know in our plant class I have a slide that I start the plant class out with, and there's a One plant comes to mind right off the top, purslane. You probably see it. It's up in July. It grows in the cracks of driveways. It has a reddish stem and shiny little oval leaves. It tastes very lemony. It has more iron than spinach. And it grows in your garden. And most people pull out the purslane because it's a weed and they throw it away so their spinach can grow. Little do they know that the purslane has more iron than the spinach. So I would say edible medicinal plants, but gardening. Do you have any tips on gardening, Cheryl?
Yeah, actually, Nancy was just saying you need to choose things that store long and well. I agree with her. Stuff that you can put up.
Okay, choose things that will store long and well. Also, you need to learn how to can. Canning is important. What'd your grandmother do? Can. Once you learn classes, and this isn't a advertisement for our classes, but we do have canning classes. The next one will be in November, but it's pretty straightforward. And once you learn how to can vegetables, you can put them up on a shelf, and you can also can meat. And it's straightforward to can meat. And by canning, I'm not talking putting it in cans. I'm talking about putting the meat in mason jars. And then you don't need refrigeration. Like I said, you want to be careful not to trade one dependency for another. And I was just talking to Cheryl. Right now, our freezers are full. I got a deer last fall, so our freezers are full of venison. But if things got really bad, even though it's not hunting season, I probably would know of people that would get a deer now, and they would can it in mason jars, and then they'd have enough food for another 6-8 months. The way to go. Eric, indeed, medicinal plants. The plants. That's good, Eric. The edible medicinal plants hide in plain sight. I like that. I know Glenn Monaghan, one of our instructors. He says that nature provides a smorgasbord, but nobody says that it's 300 miles long and sets seasonally. I kind of like that. Yeah, Nancy, you pick things on what you can store, how long without spoiling. Yep.
You had a question about the expiration date on freeze-dried goods in bags of water. How long after them can you use them?
That's a question I get all the time. Expiration dates on freeze-dried food and bags of water. First of all, freeze-dried food, typically you're going to have 15, 20-year expiration dates on them. I know we carry Mountain House. There's a lot of other Thrive. These days, if you want individual meals, I like Mountain House because they're small packets for individual meals. If you're cooking for a family, Thrive, they have the bigger cans. So you're going to get a can of green peas, a can of carrots, a can of dehydrated, So it's bigger quantities, but if you want individual meals, you recommend going with something like Mountain House or someone like that. You're going to have 15, 20-year expiration dates on the freeze-dried. And the meals, when you add, in my opinion, excellent tasting. Expiration dates on water. There is a federal law that everything needs an expiration date, so they have to put expiration dates on water. The truth is, water, as long as the water is pure, going into a container, and the container itself is clean that you're putting it in, it'll last 10,000 years. So they just put those on there because the government says they have to. So store water at home. Now, I will tell you, if you do store water in containers, after about 6 months and you taste the water or drink it, it's going to taste a little funny. It'll taste flat. That's because it just needs to be reoxygenated. The way you do that is you take your water, take 2 cups, 1 cup of water that tastes kind of flat, empty one, pour them back and forth. That'll reoxygenate the water. It'll taste perfectly normal. Little trick. By the way, there is a machine you can buy for not dehydrating, freeze drying food. It They used to be about $20,000, but they've came down in price. I'll have to put in my blog the name of the machine. I forgot it right now. The price came down to about $3,000, and I think now the price is even down to around $2,000. It's got a small capacity, about the size of a college refrigerator, so you're not going to be doing a lot of food. And it's a lot of money, but it goes down to 40 below zero to do the freeze drying, and I've had food from one of those machines. It does an excellent job. It's If you have an extra $2,000 and you want a little hobby, and not a bad idea, but $2,000 can buy you an awful lot of Thrive and Mountain House food too. Any new equipment that I purchased, my gosh, I think I have every piece of equipment. I'm trying to use less and less. No, but I'm always looking for new equipment. If you have any thing that you saw or anything you liked or anything like that, I'm all ears. That's what happens with survival kits. You know, you start out with a kit and then they come out with something new. The flashlights are awesome. What they come out with. I think the latest one I have is 2,000 lumens and different things like that. So, I'm trying to reduce the weight. I am this year. I'm playing around with two things. I'm messing with mead wine, and I'm working with some rocket stoves. So I'm going to be playing with those. How many agree Tom needs to write his book? Thank you, Eric. I don't know. Everything out there.
How about the bees?
How about the bees? How about the what?
How are the bees?
How are the bees? Bees are not doing good. Last time we had rains, and then the temperature dropped. My bees have plenty of honey. They were going to make it through the winter. They got chilled, so I lost 2 of my 6 hives. But other than that, the others came through. Waiting for some flowers to come out. So losing 2 out of 6 isn't bad. Probably not going to replace those. We're going to try to do some splits on those, and try to build them up from what they have. Then when I do a split, we have a strong hive, you kind of split them up and make them. So those should be pretty strong because they made it through a couple Cleveland winters. But typically bees don't die from anything, but they get chilled in the winter. They can usually keep their hives warm. This colony collapse, you probably heard a lot about that. They're really pointing the finger at a chemical with a nicotinoidal nicotine type compound, and one of the big contributors, they're pointing a finger at Roundup. So and everybody has to have their Roundup, so that's one of the things that they're really hammering on, and hope the bees survive. So sounds like it'd be great to have around in a crisis. You are making living off fish and grain. Yes, Nancy. Well, basically, it's the basics on survival. For living in a crisis or an emergency, you're looking at the basics. What do you actually need? If you have your food, you have your water, and you have a way to replenish it, with the water that is, and you're stored on food. And again, if things got really bad, you need a way to protect your home and your food. Keep a low profile. I know people, and that's the main thing. You have all these macho people saying all the things they're going to do, or they're going to go places and all this. Honestly, best thing you can do is keep a low profile. That's your best defense. I use the example in the mountains. A grizzly bear can take on 5 or 6 men and just devastate them. But if a grizzly bear sees one man on a trail, his first reaction every time, or nearly every time, is to turn, go the other way, avoid. Doesn't want a conflict, because he knows, even though he's big and bad and strong, something could go wrong. He just doesn't want the conflict, and that's a smart move. Tom, tell people the best containers to carry water with them when hiking or camping. I like containers that are collapsible. Just because, Camelbacks I love if I'm hiking, because I'll never get dehydrated. Simple reason, I have that straw sitting right here, and I get bored easy. So if I have a Camelback on my back, got the straw here, okay, I'm taking some steps, okay. Another 15, 20 minutes, we'll look around, sooner than not, the Camelback's empty, and I've drank 96 ounces of water, which is a good thing. With the Camelback, in the pouch there, I always keep my SteriPen. And I always keep the Adventurer, which is a small SteriPen, works off CR123 batteries, which I have a rechargeable in the SteriPen, which I can recharge, and then I have a spare CR123 with it. That's one of those lithiums. So if something happens and I can't recharge it, I have the lithium as a backup. And that's one thing, always have a backup, whatever you do. So the container, I like the collapsible ones. So if you're hiking, Camelback or any of the ones that will fold down. In camp, oh, by the way, in camp, they do a collapsible bucket. I love those because they're in your pack, they collapse to nothing. And then if you need a bucket to wash your face, to do dishes or something, they just come up. They're canvas. They're kind of cool. So around camp, I like the collapsible buckets. Great for storing water too. They sure do. They're usually big. But I'm usually see them for canoeing and things. The dry bags. But yeah, waterproof bags. Pat, what does Pat have to say? Another expiration date question. Yep. I'm drinking. My drinking straw to sterilize water also has an expiration date. Makes sense, however. Okay, expiration date on the drinking straw. You probably have the emergency straw, or those are, I think the expiration date on those might be for after you use them. I know everyone's going with the Sawyer now. The emergency straws seem to have fell a little bit out of favor. The Sawyers are really small. They're back flushable. They're good for thousands of gallons. Kind of replacing the survival straws, just I think because of size and what they're good for. All of these, the Sawyer survival straw, they won't take out viruses. So, the expiration date on the straw probably is after you use it. You've activated whatever in there. That's a question you might want to call the manufacturer. Not an expert on it. Don't want to give you bad information. So, but that'd be a good question. And maybe you could share it and I could put it on my blog on the expiration dates on those survival straws, because that's something I'd like to know. Yes, the Camelback doubles as a field shower. Yes, without a doubt. Gravity fed. That's all you need is a little bit of flow. And he said Use the hose to control the flow of water. Yep. Hang it from a tree. And if you have something dark around it, you can even get water to heat up a little bit. Can you see the difference? Locations where you hold classes. Be happy to. If it's a class like my beekeeping class or wild edible medicinal plant classes or the homesteading classes, that's right around Cleveland, about 10 miles south of Cleveland. The weekend survival class, again, just south of Cleveland, about 10 miles. The bug out class is going to be in southern Ohio. That's going to be around Caldwell, Ohio, south of Cambridge. We have our Maine winter trips and Maine canoe trips. Naturally, that's up in Maine. Shamanic journey classes, again, in Cleveland. We also have an 18-foot trailer, so we do move the classes wherever we need to. So I know people have called and said, gee, I have a group in Pennsylvania or a group in Indiana. So we can take the classes to those places. Also, we're going to have a firearms class. This isn't for certification. We're going to have this in August for the person that wants to try different firearms. If they've never shot before, or if they have shot before and they want some experience. Gee, I've never shot a 25 caliber. I wonder how much recoil it has. Gee, I've never shot a 9mm, and how is it different than a 38? So we're going to have all these different guns. It's going to be a weekend class, so got to have fun shooting guns. And we're going to be shooting handguns. We're going to have instructions on how to do it. Handguns, we'll start out with 22s, nice and easy and fun. And we'll go up to all the different calibers. You can feel the recoil, all that. And then we're going to go into some shotguns. Well, what's the difference between a 410 and a 16 gauge and a 20 gauge, 12 gauge? Then we're going to do survival guns like the AR-7, the Papoose, the M6 Scout, all those, and naturally the Marlin, and then we're going to do some long-range guns, and just have a lot of good time shooting. And that's also going to be in Caldwell, Ohio. That'll be in August. Our moonshine class, we're going to have that. It was in May. I'm going to postpone that till July this year, and that's going to teach you how to make old-fashioned moonshine. And we can do that legally because I fuel license, so I can make alcohol to put in fuel. So as long as you take the class with the intent of not drinking, if you decide to make it, you have to use it for fuel. The procedure is identical to make whiskey, moonshine whiskey, as it is to make fuel. But it's illegal to make that to drink, but it is legal to make it to put in your lawnmower. So we're going to have a moonshine class showing you the old-fashioned moonshiner way to make that. But I will tell you, don't drink it. And that'll be in Cleveland too. So we have quite a range of classes right around Cleveland, just south of Cleveland. I think Facebook said we're running a little out of space. So for this one, why don't we close it down? I thank you everybody for joining me. We're going to try to make this a little more regular, not often enough where we can keep people's questions answered and give you some valuable information. So thanks a lot for joining us. You can always email me, tom@survivalschool.com. And see you next time we do a live feed. Thank you.